In this situation, the primary gift is I have learned a lot. That's the primary gift for all of you, is I have learned a lot. I have learned that I have something else to offer than habituated grief, habituated fear, habituated victim mentality. I have something else to energetically offer the conversation. Maybe not verbally, we'll get to that in a minute, but maybe not verbally, but energetically there's something else to offer. You know, you can say, I'm sorry for your loss, and not match energy with because you're a victim of someone else. You can say, I'm sorry for your loss because I know the biology is reacting very deeply in you. You see, and those are two completely different states that maybe can be accessed with the same language only through the conscious intervention between you and the biological response to the news, the trauma, the drama. That's the only place you can make that creatorship occur. If you get on the bandwagon of victimhood, then you're not offering an altered energetic to the system, and you're not offering an altered energetic to yourself. And that's why it's deeply unsatisfying to say, I'm sorry for your loss as a conscious being. Because, one, it's not a loss on a conscious level, on a soul level. It's just transition, it's just learning. So to say, I'm sorry for your loss, makes no sense, and it aligns you with the lower vibrational habituated state. Okay? So, you get the news, you have that habituated, biological driven reaction that comes out of the survival instinct. Set it aside as best you can, open up to insight, and hear what comes or feel what comes. And it might just be that you get that moment where you're not having the biological reaction, which is a blessing, because then you can offer an altered state. And then you emanate out, thank you for this opportunity. If nothing else, on a soul level, where there is no pain, where there is no victim, where there is no physical damage to the body, and all that stuff has passed, on a soul level you can say, thank you for giving me this opportunity to learn more about myself, if nothing else. But that's just a bare minimum starting point of what you can embrace about this opportunity, okay? So, there's so much more we can say. We're just trying to figure out which direction we want to take this. Just a moment. Oh, the physical experience. It's perfectly understandable to have tears. It's perfectly understandable to have anguish. It's perfectly understandable to have sleeplessness around this kind of news, especially if it's someone who's even more into your intimate circle of people. That's completely understandable. But what we're requesting of you is that you experience those things as consciously as possible. So if you're having tears, recognizing my body needs a release around this energetic. Now, again, we feel like some people hear that as intellectualizing an emotion. It is not intellectualizing an emotion. It's interrupting a habituated biological response that only serves you moderately. And we want you to be able to maximize the service that this offering has presented from a soul level. So, I'm crying because the body needs a release. And I'm crying because I feel a sense of separation from someone I care about. Or I'm crying because I'm afraid that could happen to me. Or I'm crying because it happened to me and I'm remembering it, right? Why am I crying? Why is crying the reaction I'm choosing to present to the dynamic that's been offered? Because you are making a choice, even when it doesn't feel like a choice. There is a choosing that goes on. You are having a created, as a creator, a created response to the dynamic. And in that moment, it's very easy to slip back into victim, to say, well, I can't stop myself from crying. It's not about can you stop yourself from crying. It's about can you own why you're crying? Can you be conscious about why you're crying? Can you have that consciousness that says crying is as a reaction that's satisfying a need in me that's biologically based? And can you resist thinking that all you're doing is intellectualizing an emotion? Because that's a real temptation. And it's not intellectualizing an emotion, it's dehabituating an emotion. And what we think is true, and it's yet to really come up, but this is that whole thing with the sexual energy too, is consciously experiencing emotion is going to be a brand new way of being human. Consciously experiencing emotion. Not stifling the biologics, but instead consciously infusing the biologic with the soul and experiencing all the interesting things the body does from that soul's perspective. So we're not trying to take your emotions away from you. We're not trying to say don't be emotional. What we're trying to say is that conscious emotions are going to be a complete field of exploration. But the only way we see at this point for you to get to conscious exploration of your emotion is to start at neutral observation. Get the insight about what's really going on, and then allow that insight to guide the emotional response you're having. Or allow that insight to kind of cradle you through the body catching up to the insight. Because you know the body's the last thing to get it. So as you get the insight and the body catches up to the insight, what cradles the body through that, or dealing with the fatigue and dealing with some of this other stuff we've been talking about, what takes the body up through that but conscious awareness of the experience? Like we said with the fatigue, conscious awareness of the fatigue. Conscious awareness of what you call grief, conscious awareness of what you call fear, conscious awareness of what you call pain, anguish, disease. What that does is it brings the soul's energy into it, and you collaborate with the soul to carry the body into a new vibrational state. Now, all that's well and good by yourself at home alone, but let's say you're at the hospital, or you're at the memorial, or you're at whatever they're going to call the thing they do when they say you've crossed over. And there you are. And swarms of people are crying and dying and reacting and habituating and feeling guilty and feeling all those feelings that are associated with these things. You know them better than we do. We're not even trying to list them. You guys would do a better job listing them off than we ever would. Right? What do you do? What do you do when you're at the hospital? The first thing you have to do is recognize that the healing state that you have to offer is emanating a high vibrational position on the matter. This doesn't take away compassion, understanding, sensitivity to the people who are experiencing this more dramatically than you. That's not our intention to say. But matching energy with them doesn't support them. Matching energy with them doesn't offer healing. Matching energy with them only takes you out of your place of power. Not power over them, but internal power. So you go into the space with the knowing that everything that's occurring is teaching me something. Everything that's occurring is an offering from this soul for my growth. And I'm going to receive that precious gift just the way it's intended. And when I interact with someone whose loved one is seriously injured or loved one has crossed over, I can honestly say, I'm sorry for your loss, because I know I'm coming at it from the perspective of, I also feel the temptation to habituate my physical reaction to this experience. And that sounds callous. We get that it sounds callous, but what we're telling you is that it's actually a deeper form of connection to someone who's in pain than matching energy with them will ever be. Now, not many people can hear you say, your son offered me